So, the Nintendo Switch 2 is finally in our hands, and yes, this is the brand new Mario Kart World bundle. We've all been waiting for something fresh from Nintendo, and today, that wait is over. If you're a fan of the original Switch or the old version, you're in for a real surprise. The Switch 2 may look familiar at first glance, but as we unbox and explore the details, it quickly becomes clear this is a big step forward. Let's start with what's in the box. Right when you open it, you're greeted with the console itself and the two Joy-Cons nestled neatly inside. It feels very premium, and there's a new kind of excitement unwrapping something that's been so hyped. Along with the main console and Joy-Cons, you'll also find an HDMI cable, two Joy-Con straps, a Joy-Con grip, the power adapter, and of course, the dock. Now let's take a moment to appreciate how Nintendo packaged this. It's clean, organized, and everything is placed with intention. The Joy-Con grip feels sturdy in hand, and the new AC adapter design, which separates the power brick from the cord, is surprisingly more user-friendly than before. It might seem like a small thing, but when you're setting it up, that separation makes cable management much easier. Next, the dock. Yes, it's been redesigned. It's still sleek and compact, but there are subtle changes that improve both aesthetics and performance. You'll notice that the rear panel pops off just like the old version, giving easy access to the ports. This includes USB ports to charge accessories like Pro controllers. But there's also a very welcome addition, an internal fan that means when the Switch 2 is docked and you're running heavier games, there's less concern about overheating. This may not sound revolutionary, but in the long run, it could really help the system's longevity. Taking everything out of the packaging and laying it out, you start to notice the refinements in design. Let's talk about the new Joy-Cons. Nintendo has taken a different route here. Instead of sliding them onto rails like in the previous generations, the new Joy-Cons are now magnetic. This might not seem like a huge leap, but in practice, it's a game changer. It's faster, more secure, and just feels more modern. You simply snap them on and off using a trigger button at the back. No need to slide them and worry about wearing down the rails or scratching your console. When you hold them, the size is noticeably bigger. The Joy-Cons on the Switch 2 are more ergonomic, fitting more comfortably in larger hands for people who often play for long sessions. Especially games like Mario Kart or Smash Bros. This makes a big difference. The grip feels natural and you won't find yourself constantly adjusting your hands or dealing with cramps like on the earlier models. The kickstand has also received a redesign. If you remember the tiny flimsy strip on the original Switch, this is nothing like that. The Switch 2 now has a broader and sturdier kickstand that gives you more confidence when setting the console down for tabletop play. It's a small change, but again, one that improves usability in real-world scenarios. Whether you're playing on a plain tray or your desk, this new stand just works better. And let's not forget the ports. On the bottom of the console, there's a USB-C port, and there's another one at the top as well. This dual-port setup adds flexibility, especially if you're using accessories or docking in different orientations. You can tell Nintendo has been listening to feedback from years of Switch use. These are thoughtful upgrades rather than flashy gimmicks when it comes to inserting games. The game card slot has been redesigned to it now opens more smoothly, and the card snaps in with a satisfying click. Same goes for the microSD port, which is placed just underneath the kickstand for easy access. Everything feels more polished, more deliberate. It's the kind of hardware refinement that makes you realize Nintendo didn't rush this product. They took their time to improve where it matters. Now, the moment we power it on, that iconic Nintendo Switch logo greets you, and immediately, the difference in screen quality is obvious. While we'll dive deeper into the display and performance in the second section, it's worth mentioning that even the setup process feels snappier. Once everything is up and running, you'll notice a new option on the home screen: game chat. This is a long-requested feature and finally makes the Switch feel more modern, especially for multiplayer fans. But before we dive into software, let's do the physical comparison, and we'll keep it simple. Placing the original old Switch and the new Switch 2 side by side, the differences begin to stand out. First, the overall size. The Switch 2 is slightly larger but also thinner and more refined. It feels more like a handheld console and less like a tablet with controllers slapped on the sides. Nintendo has definitely taken cues from how people actually use their Switch and refined the silhouette to better match user expectations. Looking at the Joy-Con side by side, the new design is clearly chunkier, but that added size isn't wasted. The triggers are better defined, the buttons are more responsive, and the entire shape fits your fingers more naturally. It's a better experience, even if you're someone who preferred the older, smaller ones. You can tell Nintendo is now optimizing for longer gameplay sessions and comfort. The dock, once again, brings improvements that are subtle but meaningful. It has a cleaner back panel, and when you look closely at the build, it seems slightly more reinforced than before. Nintendo likely made these choices to support better airflow and heat dissipation, and with those USB ports more accessible, charging accessories is no longer a hassle. Let's move on to one of the most exciting additions: mouse mode with the Joy-Con straps. For games that support it, this opens up a new type of control. You slide the Joy-Cons into the straps, switch into mouse mode, and suddenly you're interacting with your games in a way that feels fresh and immersive. Whether it's pointing, clicking, or gesturing, it gives players more variety in how they engage with their favorite titles. Attaching the Joy-Cons to the grip is as satisfying as ever. It just clicks, and you're ready to go in handheld mode. Nintendo hasn't reinvented the wheel here, but they've certainly polished the experience. Whether you're on the go, playing docked, or passing a Joy-Con to a friend, the transitions are smoother, faster, and more intuitive. And now that everything is connected, it's time to talk games. Mario Kart World is pre-installed in this particular bundle, and seeing it launch on the Switch 2's screen is just pure joy. The graphics are sharper, the load times are noticeably shorter, and the overall presentation feels richer. But we'll break that down in more technical detail in the next section. To wrap up this section, let's take a moment to reflect. The Nintendo Switch 2 doesn't try to be flashy for the sake of being different. Instead, it builds on what already worked and polishes every detail to near perfection. From the magnetic Joy-Cons and redesigned kickstand to the better dock and refined port placement, this is the upgrade fans have been asking for. It's not just a new Switch, it's a smarter one. In the next section, we'll go deep into the performance, display technology, new features, battery life, and whether or not it's truly worth the upgrade. Because while hardware is a big part of the experience, it's the real-world usage, gaming feel, and longevity that decide whether this is Nintendo's best console yet or just a small leap forward. Stay with us.